Next, we have the Michael Davidson Award, presented by Beth, BINA board member and road investigator.
Thank you so much, everybody. I have been given 10 minutes to introduce two really amazing individuals, which is going to be hard to do in 10 minutes, but I will do my best, especially because I promised one of them I would give them as much extra time as I could. So I am so honored to be here to present this year's Michael W. Davidson Award. Mike Davidson was a fantastic, highly innovative, talented researcher, and in addition to being somebody who really cared about the science and doing great science and pushing things, really cared about the community he was doing science with, and really wanted to make sure that he was using science to bring along people in his community. Really sort of a modern Renaissance man who was an entrepreneur, a researcher, a mentor. He was able to do things like create scarves that many of you are wearing, that are images that he took from microscopy, and use it to fund his lab, because he really cared to make sure that his lab got funded. And if you ever have an extra hour, I don't think there's a better way to spend an hour than going to BINA's YouTube channel and watching last year's keynote from Eric Betzig, talking all about his long friendship with Mike Davidson, the microscopes they built together, the ideas they had together, talking about how much Mike valued bringing in people from the community and people who might never have otherwise found themselves into science, and making them part of his lab and putting them to work and giving them careers that they never thought that they would have had. Along the way, he made some of the best educational materials that are out there. I still personally use Microscopy U all the time whenever I'm trying to teach the software engineers in the lab, how does something in a microscope work, or why do we do something a certain way? I pull up Microscopy U and it's still there, and it's still leaving a legacy that really honors everything that Mike did through his long career, and I am very sad that I never personally got the chance to meet him. The way that I first came across Mike was actually through these huge plasmid collections that he made, going to our, what was the Nikon Imaging Center at UCSF at the time and saying, hey, I'm looking for a new fluorescent protein, and Kurt Thorne was like, oh yeah, Mike Davidson just sent me over, the newest thing. And so he was able to enable science for grad students in labs all over the country and all over the world. And it's really impossible, if I had the whole hour, to sort of describe all of the contributions that he had to science. And that's why BINA decided to create an award, when they wanted to create an award that honored not just great science, but service to the community, people who care about reproducibility, people who care about education, people who really care about making science a better place, that they named it after Mike. His wife Pamela is here, and we are very grateful to her that she is allowing us to use his name for this. We think it's a great way to honor him. We're also thank Mike Coulter, John Fraser, and Eric Clark for making the connections that make this award possible. I was part of the review committee this year. It was a great committee: Rich Cole, Corinne Escabel, Eduardo Rosa-Molinar, and Steve Ross from Nikon. And we had some excellent nominees, and we really thank the BINA community for going out of their way, taking the time to nominate people and say, hey, this person has changed my life, this person is making science better. There's a lot of people like that in this community, and we absolutely encourage you in future years to please keep nominating people, because there are so many people in this community deserving of this award. These were the three nominees that we received this year: Frederick Bonnet, Michelle Itano, and Natalie Wu. They're all to be congratulated. They all had fantastic application packages talking about how much they care about inclusion, how much they care about mentorship, how much they care about advocacy. And like I said, there are fantastic people in this community. We are so grateful that these are three of them. Unfortunately, we can only give out one award per year. And I am delighted to say that this year it goes to Michelle Itano. One quote to use from her nomination packet: Michelle embodies the various attributes that Michael Davidson was known for. She's a beloved member of the imaging community who never hesitates to support it or contribute to its growth. I can definitely add that. Personally, those of you who were here for the GBI portion of the meeting got to see Michelle's great talk about all of the hard work that she has done through the Imaging Scientist program. I feel personally very grateful I've gotten to know her through that program. I could spend a long time talking about all of the reasons that Michelle is wonderful, but instead I'm going to first of all thank the sponsors of this award who are allowing us to give Michelle these awards, and then invite Michelle up here to tell you all about it herself. So thank you so much, everybody, and congratulations, Michelle.
Okay, forgive me because I am already a bit emotional. And this is incredibly meaningful to me. So I'm going to try to hold it together and try to give a talk on something that I think I could never make appropriate slides for. So please bear with me and humor me slightly as we make this walk. So I'm just gonna wait for the, should I hit next for the slides to come up? So one thing that I want to note is that while Mike Davidson was a very well-known member of the community to me, he was like this legendary Pokemon, right? That you've heard of and you know about, but I don't know that I actually met him. It's possible, I have a vague memory of being in a conference and having all of the PIs sitting out front and saying, they were troubleshooting something, and somebody said, well, Mike knows, and he was like, I'll send it to you. Done. Question and answer session done, and that was how my memory of that goes. And I wish that I had gotten to learn more, but what I wanted to share with you all today is what I feel I have learned and benefited from Mike Davidson, how that has applied in the BINA community specifically, and what I hope to do next, what I hope you all hold me accountable for. So, one of the first lessons that I think I learned from Mike Davidson was to engage the community and be incredibly creative. As you've heard, the Nikon Small World image contest and Small World in Motion was part of his legacy. He also put images onto ties and beautiful scarves. I'm so honored that this is one of the original Bev Shots scarves. This is tequila, by the way. And so I figure if my slides don't make sense, at least you can look at something beautiful and be inspired by that. And so on the bottom is Bev Shots, and you can still look up all of these incredible images that inspire curiosity. They're some of the very best scientific communication campaigns that we've ever known. And so what did I learn from that? I learned that art and images can communicate beyond language, right? This inspires curiosity. This is why many people became scientists, still are scientists, and it is not unique to scientists. The whole world, humanity, is engaged by images and art. Funding can come from many sources. When funding crunch hit Mike, he made a business of things that he was passionate of, found a way to connect that to the people, and made a model for funding a lab that never existed previously. And images can be cool, right? This was something everybody, your grandma, the people in my Uber driver, as I'm talking to them, they're like, wow, that's cool, right? It's a way to make science accessible, interesting, and curiosity-based. And so what do I hope to do with that? I hope to live a scientific life in which I recognize that new partnerships can catalyze communities. And so one example of that, right, is that the very first BINA Community Congress I missed. One of my staff was at the MBL, but I communicated by hybrid from Imaging Africa 2. And that was a session that you can see Chris Wood in the corner there was helping moderate, and we had 3 other moderators in Africa setting up tables so that everybody at the BINA Community Congress could talk to people in the workshop. And it was incredibly inspiring to me to just see how this could work and the logistics of working across different boundaries of culture, time zone, nations. And one of the ways that we have implemented that was taking an industry partnership that had never existed before at UNC. And so I leased a microscope because I had heard of that. Other partners had done that. It was difficult. It was an option. And then that led to a partner in microscopy agreement. And I believe it was the first one in North America that we were able to set up. Oops, we're going back. And so that was the ribbon cutting with the director of research there who had helped me work through this MOU. It took more than a year and a half, right? So I'm telling you, many of these processes, and what I've learned from building communities is they don't happen quickly, right? They are based on relationships, based on building trust, and at times, the progress can seem very incremental, but I want you to know that somebody is seeing it. Somebody is seeing your passion for it and the effort. And so this led to a ribbon cutting and a ceremony and a plaque on the wall and beautiful pictures of the facility that I wouldn't have otherwise. But what it led to later was the creation of a grant that is now allowing us to bring researchers who came to UNC as part of the Pair Up workshop to learn and work on the microscopes back to UNC to do scientific research. And this we had to set up through UNC as a grant, and the previous MOU helped us to set that up legally so that we now have a grant through a community partner that allows me to bring researchers in, pay recharge rates, pay for travel, and every element of this process working through the institution, and it's taken multiple years, I think it's been like 4 years going, to be able to set up some of these avenues that I hope will make it easier for everybody moving forward, and just is now a legal model that we can use with other companies and other interested partners. So the other thing, right, is that, oops, sorry, I tried to get rid of those, make projects to learn new tools, right? So I am not that great at digital communication. I have learned so much from New, being on the communications working group and so many others, and one of those is my child, who has a Canva account, heard me getting stressed about running this workshop and course and fearing that I wouldn't know the people. And so he was like, well, why don't you make them Pokemon cards? And I was like, what? And so that was what he did. He's now past school camp age, and so he came in and he took over my computer and all of my displays. So if you met with me and I was meeting with you in a side room, that's why. And he made Pokemon cards for OMIBs. And we designed it together, and we were able to have all of our faculty and that includes vendor faculty, everybody who taught, represented, little bits about them, all of our students, all of the staff, and I hope that this was something that enabled me to learn how to use ChatGPT and Canva much better, and people were very tolerant about teaching me and iterating with version 1, but it was something that I needed to be able to actually engage with digital imaging software, is the pressure of somebody saying, where's my card? And then, you know, having to make it on the side, but I loved it, and it's now I remember everybody's faces and little bits about them. So the last thing that I would really like to do is to challenge convention, right? So I'd like to be a bit more creative. You heard a lot about the Imaging Scientist program, and I have been talking to UNC about creating a named professorship. This is not an endowed one, but a named one that is term limited, that doesn't have to cover my whole salary, but could cover things like engaging in the community congress and travel for that, and it could be from multiple multiple funders, right? And could change. Later they want it to be AI focused and less community building, they can pick somebody else, right? But enable it to be an honor that otherwise hasn't gone to many people in my role. And so for various reasons, due to much of the visibility, I got invited to the Chancellor's House, and we have a new Chancellor, by the way, and his partner is an art historian. And what she has decided to do is make the Chancellor's House an art gallery for artists from UNC and faculty. And what I was telling her is scientists are artists, right? And so we have this ongoing thing of where now I'd like to work with her to help share Mike's images with the community and to help feature some of our new and up-and-coming scientists and show that that is art and that we can put that in our most valued places of the institution and highlight them for all of their work, just alongside the others. Okay, so another thing that Mike is known for is rigorous standards, and you heard about this, right? He literally wrote books on microscopy, but he also made other tools and formats. So Microscopy U, the digital interactive Java applets. I had never seen learning like that before I encountered what they developed. And beyond that, tools, right? So many people have stories of Mike providing them with cells that they use for their courses, because anybody who's run a course knows that your lab is only as good as the samples you have to image and the people you have running the instruments. So if we can recruit the great people, that's amazing, but you need the samples to be high quality to show the concept that you want people to learn. And Mike was the best at creating reproducible high standards, and now those are available to everybody. The flow cells #2 that we see everywhere that you can now buy. He developed these, I don't know how old yours is, but my guess is my slide is running on 25 years old, right? That is a high quality fixed sample, right? And I have bleached it in all sorts of ways, and it still produces beautiful images, teaches people amazing things, and that is one lesson that I am amazed at. Okay, I'm going. So learning occurs in different formats, right? One way that has worked in the past may not work now. Every experimental step matters, from the sample all the way through to how you present it. And you need to disseminate tools to have the highest impact. So what do I hope to do? Learn from the experts, right? So what did I do first? I tried to bring the experts to me, right? And I brought them and I held workshops. And then I took part in, I think, the first BINA job shadowing project, coming to learn from Claire on how she had done and run her workshop here. And then I went, and you might know this, I go to every educational opportunity I can afford to be at, because every time I am there, I learn from the participants, I learn from every speaker, every time that they present, and I learn from all of the vendors who are presenting their materials, and it is literally hundreds upon thousands of people who have helped shape the way that I think about science and the way that I teach it. And I can't emphasize that enough, the exchange of experience. And so people don't know what they don't know, right? And that's, I think, an important thing. So just one quick thing is, from the past Community Congress, one of the exchange of experiences was a What's in the Box teaching activity. And I know some of you were in that. And the idea was that you have a cardboard box with one hole and you try to figure out what's in it. And as people do that, some will use tools, they'll use flashlights, they'll use each other, others won't. Some will make maps, they'll record it differently, right? And so this is now something that I use to introduce the experimental design process when I teach. And it's been so much fun. And this is the OMIBS course. Oops, I don't think I can click it. This is a video of the OMIBS course after they had done this activity and they thought that they had found everything in their boxes, and then they open it, which we can't do in science, and actually see what's in the box. And I'm not sure if we can play the video from the back. And so this came directly out of an exchange of experience from the BINA Community Congress. And if it won't play, that's okay. I can share it later. It's essentially everybody going, oh! Oh, it's going, okay. So they had just used their boxes. This is a 5-minute activity, by the way. It's not that long. And if you just hit play, Oh, okay. Okay, so this is 9:30 p.m. on a day many of them have traveled in, they've just met 1 million people, and what you see is their curiosity is engaged, they're curious, they're amazed, they realized what they hadn't seen, right? And that is what I hope that they keep with them through every educational experience, is figuring out where those holes are, how you can find that, and how, when you're tired and it's 9:30 p.m., how you can re-engage that curiosity, that drive to be relentless, and find the answer. Sorry. And I just had one last one, I think. Okay. And so now what I'm trying to do is apply pedagogy and AI to training and acquisition. So that includes implementing a DISPIM at UNC and trying to learn from my other role as the director of faculty, the faculty director for our umbrella graduate program, how to teach, use pedagogy, and I learned that from the BINA Community Congress as well, with Pina and Chris and others sharing many lessons. I'm just going to try to zoom through this. And so I'm trying to apply that now to my microscopy teaching and use those philosophies, tools, and rubrics. And that includes next week presenting to the research community on what the DISPIM is and why they might care. The last thing, I know I've talked to many of you, I'd love to have AI involved in actually acquisition. So some of you remember the Microsoft paperclip. It looks like you could use help, right? You can ignore it, but you could click on it and it would give you resources. And what I would love is if somebody is turning up the gain tons and the laser and the zoom and they just still don't seem to be getting what they want, that maybe the microscope paperclip will clip and be like, maybe you want to switch to an objective with higher NA, right? Like, they don't have to, but it's just there, and it'll lead to microscopy U resources. It can learn the very common things that troubleshooting that we do. Okay, and the last one is that Mike really valued second chances. He trained hundreds of people, many of whom thought they did not have a career in science, and that success looked linear, and it just never is. And he relentlessly gave them opportunities to contribute in science and only judged them by the work that they did. And I hope to embody some of that and to remember that equal is not necessarily fair, and that everything that I have done here and in presenting is because I had opportunities given to me by others. So to remember that mistakes are a part of learning in life, and all can and hopefully should have the opportunity to contribute to science. So I'm interested in pathways to micro-credentialing so that the work that people do is recognized on a CV, and working to get more credit for that at various institutions, and to enhance recognition of giving others opportunities. So this all happened only because people took the time to recognize something in me that I did not see in myself, to write letters that make me cry. And I hope that they are the ones who have done the work, right? That they get the recognition. And that I've told many of you, if my work is successful, what you will see is less of me. Right? I hope that you see more people from UNC here, you see more communications working group people giving these talks, and that is my goal and my hope moving forward. And I think the more ways that we can move to formally recognize that, the happier I will be. So thank you all so much. I am so incredibly touched.